And government has said it aims to vaccinate all adults willing to get the vaccine by October this year.
And there's countries like Tonga that are actually yet to even confirm their orders from COVAX in terms of getting their vaccines.
Tonga has projected that more than 60% of its population will be vaccinated by the end of 2023, although the government has come out recently to say it will vaccinate 60 to 70% of the population by the end of this year. Now, Dr. Vivili says there are some challenges for the Pacific, including the availability and demand of the vaccines.
One of the issues with the Pacific region, of course, is suitability of some of the vaccines. Pfizer, in particular, requires very cold storage requirements and has been deemed by some of the suppliers as not ideal for some of the countries in the Pacific.
However, Dr. Vivili warns any delay in a mass Pacific rollout will likely delay the reopening of borders.
The impact on the economies in the region has been significant, particularly for those that rely on tourism to a large extent. And of course, the longer the delay in opening up of borders, the longer it takes for these economies to recover.
That was Dr. Paula Vivili from the Pacific Community. And that's Dateline from RNZ Pacific. There's more on our website, rnzi.com, and you can listen to this program as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, Mo demanda.
Thanks, Croy. Nights on RNZ National. We are standing by for a police media conference following the arrest of 2 people in Christchurch as a result of threats made against the Linwood Islamic Centre and Al Nur Mosque in Christchurch earlier this week. 2 people were in custody. No charges have been made at this stage, at least that's what the police were telling us at 8 o'clock. This media conference is due shortly. Hasn't started yet. We will go to it if we get the sound when it begins, which possibly, in fact, probably means we might not have time for all of Fragments, tonight's episode of Fragments, Katie Gossett's documentary marking the 10th anniversary of the Christchurch quake. And tonight is the second part of her look at what happened in and around the CTV building. We're hoping we can squeeze it all in, but if we can't, apologies in advance. And now, as we await the police media briefing, here's something rather cool from Krungbin. Cover of Kool and the Gang's Summer Madness. Krunbin was the outfit. They're from the States, but in terms of their influences, Middle Eastern psych, classic soul and funk, and Thai rock. I'm pretty sure I saw them perform at WOMAD one year, WOMAD Taranaki, and they were fabulous. 29 minutes past 8 nights on RNZ National. No sign or word yet of this police media briefing following the arrest of two people after making threats to the Al Noor Mosque and Linwood Islamic Centre in Christchurch earlier this week. When that begins, we will go to it. A few of your thoughts now, and a lot of you were listening to my chat with the scientist Jeff Wilmot, the physicist. This is Materials, Fact or Fiction, and as we do every second week, we look at something from science fiction and then real-life equivalents. This week it was the still suit, which is quite a big part of the narrative of Frank Herbert's Dune. And lots of you wrote in with thoughts about that, including Peter. This rather delightful little text about urine is sterile and drinkable, not just the greatest flavour. Somebody else, I don't think it was Peter, was asking how much water does poo contain. I don't think that Jeff could have answered that question. He was struggling even with the urine thing. It left him a bit speechless for a moment. Somebody else wrote, and I think it's the same person that also was very excited for us that we played that Krungbin version of Kool and the Gang, Summer Madness, that the new version of Dune, because there's the David Lynch version which came out in 84. I think Frank Herbert originally wrote Dune back in the 60s. The new version, which is directed by Monsieur Villeneuve, who also did the Blade Runner 2049, is scheduled to open here in New Zealand on the 16th of September, anticipating, writes this particular texter. Claire writes, Kia ora, Brian, met Shay. Claire was listening to Nick Bollinger's wonderful piece on Shay Fu's classic album, Navigator, which Nick Bollinger reckons is an essential New Zealand album, and I wouldn't disagree. Claire writes, met Shay at a mutual friend's 50th birthday, so humbled, treated to his rendition of Happy Birthday, a hip-hop parade for Welly legend DJ Raw. Wonderful to hear his album set out by Nick B. Humbling. Yes, Shay has just got one of those voices, I think, that's timeless. And there's just a warmth in it that, well, for me personally, it comes along, that kind of warmth comes along once in a generation or so. I can't describe it any better than that. Quite a few of you have been writing in about cicadas, because I remarked at the start of the show tonight that they have been very loud, and I thought they'd gone off the boil a bit because they were extremely loud early in the week. But when I went for a bike ride up alongside the Zealandia Reserve fence, the cicadas were deafening. And I got this from Anna. Brian, cicadas don't make a racket. They sing a beautiful song. I love their singing. Anna, I would 99.95% agree with that. But every now and then they get extremely loud, and just for a moment I think, well, if I couldn't walk away, that would be a little bit on the painful side. I don't know if you've ever been to Australia. The cicadas there make a remarkable noise, at least in New South Wales and Victoria, which sounds almost metallic. And for me, it was too much, actually. But where I lived most of my time in Australia, which is up in the Northern Territory, you didn't get them so much, that particular species of cicada. You had other things making a racket, but not cicadas. I think it's Steve in Wilton. Cicadas making a racket at our place. I've dug a few up while digging post holes for a retaining wall. The birds love them. Yes, they do, if that is you, Steve. I noticed that the cats sometimes love them as well. Jay, fabulous Jay in Christchurch. Cicadas all quiet on the Port Hills, replaced by the sound of thunder rumbling around, and even better, the sound of rain. That sounds to me like you've got a southerly arriving now. Cicadas in the house at night is a nightmare, writes another. And that reminds me of Imelda Stewart. You might remember during lockdown last year, the nationwide lockdown, Imelda was doing a special COVID-19 podcast, and one night, she was doing it from her garage, one night there was a cricket chirping very merrily in the background, and she couldn't do anything about it. But I thought it was so sweet to hear this cricket chirping away. It was really rather delightful. I know she found it a bit frustrating, but in the end, I think it was just one of those delightful things that happens by chance every now and then. We're still waiting for this media briefing. Might pick up another piece of music while we wait, and then we'll come back to you, see how it's going. Not sure what this tune is, but it's bound to be delightful. Nako iti.
Everything they need, and you're right, you're all set up. Okay. Yes, we are, Siobhan, so I'll just put you next to me, and you'll be able to hear what I'm saying. Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay, is everyone all set to go? Firstly, thank you for coming this evening. I just want to inform everyone that police today arrested 2 people following a threat made online on a website for Can. This threat was made to the Linwood Islamic Centre and the Al Noor Mosque in Christchurch earlier this week. Police executed 2 search warrants this afternoon in Linwood and St Albans. The Armed Defenders Squad assisted, but this was only a precautionary measure. One of those arrested has now been released, and the other, a 27-year-old male, has been charged with threatening to kill. He is due to appear in the Christchurch District Court tomorrow the 5th of March. We are also investigating the possibility of further charges. I just want to reinforce that we take these matters extremely seriously, and we're also working very closely with our Muslim community. Any threat made on our community and our people is a threat on our society and will not be tolerated. Any messages of hate or people wanting to cause harm in our community, they will be held to account. Our inquiries into this matter are ongoing, and as a result, we're not in a position to provide further detail on the nature of the threat. Are there any questions?
Was there anything suspicious found in your search warrants?
That search is still undergoing and will make up part of the investigation. So at this stage, I can't say what was found and the nature of what was found.
How were police notified of these messages?
Police were notified through a member of the public coming forward. And I want to just reinforce, if we're going to keep our society safe from harm, we need everyone to help. And that means we need all members of the public to keep eyes open and to inform us straight away if they have any concerns of people's behaviours or actions or anything they say.
Can you give us an idea how credible the threat was? I know you can't tell us what it was, but how credible was it?
It was credible enough that we took action straight away, and any threat in this environment, in these circumstances, we take extremely seriously.
Do police actively monitor these sort of websites in like 4chan?
We work very closely with our intelligence partners, and both locally, nationally and internationally, and that is all part of what we do and how we do our work.
When did you receive the tip-off?
I understand that was a couple of days ago.
And was that through Crime Stoppers, is that right?
It was through Crime Stoppers, and I ask that if anyone needs to notify us, Crime Stoppers, ring Crime Stoppers, or I also ask that you ring our 105 number, or if it's an emergency, please ring 111.
Have the mosques been searched and has anything suspicious been found?
Yes, as a result of the threat that was made and the context, we took precautionary procedures as we would with any threat made, and we undertook searches of both mosques.
Was this person known to the police?
I can't say because the matter's before the court.
And
2
was there
days
anything?
between when you tipped off and acting today, why was that?
Just intensive investigations and inquiries. When you start with nothing, you've got to, it takes a long time to work through. So that was part of the inquiry and the investigation. We had a full-time dedicated team working on that, both from a technical perspective and from an inquiry perspective.
Was there any reason why that information came from the public as opposed to it being from the intelligence agencies?
Whether it comes from the public or the intelligence sources, what's important is that we take these things seriously and we action those threats quickly and decisively.
And just checking, was there anything found in the mosques, anything of interest or suspicion?
Not that I'm aware of.
What further charges are being considered?
At this stage, I don't know, but we will let you know with a further release later on with good detail. As you're probably aware, we've still got a team working on this as I speak to you, but at this stage, the only charge that is forthcoming is the threatening to kill, but I anticipate there will be further charges.
When were the Muslim communities alerted to this?
They were spoken to pretty soon after we were made aware. It is very important that we have full trust and confidence of our communities, and when things like this come to notice, we make sure that we speak with our communities as quickly as we can. What we don't want to do is create further fear. Fear is the element that people like this use to create harm in our society. So what we want to be able to do is act decisively and ensure that no threat can be carried out.
And when were the mosques searched after you learned of the threat?
Pretty shortly afterwards. I can't give you a precise time, but it was pretty shortly afterwards.
You mentioned trying to avoid a situation where there's fear, but in a few days there is a significant memorial event planned, a remembrance event. Do police have any concern around that? Will there be increased security? What can you tell us?
There will be absolutely. as with anything, we want to make sure the memorial service goes off well for all New Zealanders. The whole of the New Zealand Police will be at alert level that will require us just to connect with our communities, but we will, here in Canterbury, will have a large reassurance phase. We'll also be ensuring that we've got the ability to police the event so people can come, remember, and be there safely.
Will that include the arming of police?
I will not and cannot go into that. It's an operational decision at this stage.
Could you confirm if the use of a bomb or an explosive was made in the threat?
No, I can't, because that matter is before the court. The nature of the threat and the content is what that will be going before the court.
How concerning is this for you? I mean, it's nearly 2 years on from March 15, and to have people making these sort of threats and specific references to that date, how concerning is this for you?
Yeah, look, it's a very good question. Look, I think it's very concerning for me, but it's also very concerning for New Zealanders as a whole. Most New Zealanders are peace-abiding. Most New Zealanders want us to be united and to respect the diversity of New Zealand and the country we live in. And any threat, anyone wanting to do contrary to that, is not the New Zealand way. So yes, I am concerned, as I think we should all be. So that's when we've got to call out this sort of behaviour. It's inappropriate, it's not the right thing to do, and we're better than that in New Zealand.
Is it possible to see further arrests? Are you looking at any more people?
We are not looking at anyone else in regards to this matter.
There'll be a number of Muslims tonight hearing your words who will be feeling very afraid. Is there anything you want to say to them? What message would you send to those people?
I would like to think that there isn't fear, but rather that they have trust and confidence in New Zealand and New Zealanders and their police service. We're there to serve our community, the Muslim community, especially at this time. So I would like to think that the trust and confidence they have in the New Zealand police to ensure that when things like this happen, that we respond professionally and get the result for our community.
Can I just confirm, was the person that's been charged the same person that posted on 4K?
That I will not go into at the stage, because again, that makes up part of the inquiry.
Just going back to the event, can you give us an idea of, just for the public watching this, of what kind of police response we'll be seeing there?
Well, you'll be seeing, hopefully not a response, but what you'll see is a prevention element to that, where we will have visible staff, both at our mosques, in the wider context of the event there as well. You'll see visibility of police out and about on the streets, and we'll have capability available if we need to respond.
Is there any ongoing risk or threat, or can people sort of rest easy tonight?
Look, New Zealand, we're still at a medium threat level, so I think we all just to have eyes open and make sure we're all looking after each other. So, but that goes for any time in New Zealand. You know, we have a peaceful, wonderful community, and I think we've always got to be looking after each other and caring for each other.
Could we see a heightened police presence outside the two mosques and other places around New Zealand, or just Canterbury?
Look, I can't speak on behalf of New Zealand. I can only speak on behalf of Canterbury, but yes, there will be heightened visibility around the mosque, as was planned for this event anyway. It's the same as we've done previously, as you probably recall last year with the lead up. We did have a heightened visibility. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, and we need our community to feel as though that they have the freedom to come to their mosque, to pray, and to add to the peaceful unity of New Zealand.
We saw a similar threat made just before the first anniversary. Is it concerning to police that this is, two isn't quite a trend, but that this may be something that comes up every anniversary?
That is always a concern, from the perspective that there are a small percentage of people who have their own ideology, but again, that's a challenge for us as New Zealanders to call that behaviour out. And in this case, you know, I want to again thank that member of the public that came forward and did absolutely the right thing. If in doubt, tell us so that we can do the right thing for New Zealand.
Do you know how many people reported the post? Was it just the one person, or was it several people come forward?
No, I'm not too sure about that, Sam. But look, if it's one or many, one's enough for us to actually be able to do the right thing.
So is this being treated as a terror investigation?
It's been treated as a criminal investigation at this stage. There is the possibility that we will look at the likes of being a hate crime as well. But that is further to the investigation. So at this stage, it's a criminal investigation, a threat has been made, and we have acted and responded with the appropriate charge.
Is there any evidence to suggest this person was capable or had the means to carry out an attack?
No, I can't talk to that at the moment, Sam.
Just to clarify, has it been the idea that perhaps that they're doing this on the second anniversary, is that an inference that's been made due to how close we are to the second anniversary, or was that confirmed?
I think it's forefront in our minds, so it's forefront in the minds of people who don't quite think the way we should be thinking, and you know, their response could be to behave like that. It's not appropriate at any time, whether or not it's coming up to an anniversary or whether or not it's any other time of the year. The behaviour is the thing we've got to call out, and we do find that people do behave differently when likes of anniversaries and memorial dates come up.
Has the message on 4chan been removed, that threat?
My understanding that it has been taken down. Again, I'd just like to thank the public for their assistance. I'd also like to just ask them to also continue to help the New Zealand Police and the New Zealand public as a whole and our community by doing the right thing. If in doubt, speak out, tell us and let us know. I'll end it then if I can, unless there's any other probing questions. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening. Be safe, feel safe. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, everyone.